Today we're going to look at some safe dose range problems. This first example says the prescriber ordered Dilantin, Phenytoin, 100 milligrams oral suspension by mouth daily. The recommended daily maintenance dosage is 4 to 8 milligrams per kilograms per day. Is the ordered dose safe for a child who weighs 30 kilograms? So they give us the order, which is 100 milligrams daily. And they also give us the safe dose range, which is given in 4 to 8 milligrams per kilogram per day. So the timing is the same. They're both daily. The issue is the safe dose range takes the child's weight into account. So what I'm going to do is determine the safe range for this specific child. If I focus in on the low range, then I'm going to take the child's weight, the 30 kilograms, and I'm going to multiply it by the 4 milligrams per kilogram per day. If I do that, the kilograms will cancel out, and I'll find that 120 milligrams per day is the lowest recommended safe range. If I now focus on the high range, the patient's weight, 30 kilograms, has not changed. But from this range, I'm going to focus in on that 8 milligrams per kilogram per day now. The kilograms will still cancel out, and when I multiply, I'm going to find that there's 240 milligrams per day. That is the highest safe range. So they're telling us that if we give the patient in between 120 and 240 milligrams per day, then we are safe. If we look back at the order was 100 milligrams. So this 100 milligram order is not safe. And if we were asked why, we would say that this is an underdose. They're giving the patient too little medication, so it may not actually do what it's being prescribed for. Let's look at another example. It says the prescriber ordered gentamicin, 60 milligrams intramuscular every 8 hours for a child who weighs 60 pounds. The strength on the vial is 80 milligrams per 2 milliliters. The recommended dosage is 6 to 7.5 milligrams per kilogram per day in 3 divided doses. Is the recommended dosage safe? If so, how many milliliters would you administer? So if we look at this, I'm going to focus on the low range first. They tell me that the patient is 60 pounds, and they give me that the safe range is 6 to 7.5 milligrams per kilogram per day. So if I start with 60 pounds, because the order's in kilograms, I first need to multiply by 2.2 pounds in 1 kilogram to get to kilograms. Then I can use that low range, the 6 milligrams per kilogram per day. If I double check, pounds cancel out, kilograms cancel out, and I'll get the daily range. When I multiply straight across, that gives me 360 over 2.2, or 163.63 repeating milligrams per day. Now we weren't told where to round, so I'm going to round to the nearest milligram. Because it's a child, no matter what, I'll round down. So I'll say that it's about 163 milligrams per day. Now they may have, instead of asking us for the safe dose range in day, we could have calculated it per dose because they didn't ask us one way or the other. And if we look at this problem, they tell us that we should be giving the patient this medication in 3 divided doses, and they're telling us that we're giving this every 8 hours, which is 3 times per day. So we are definitely following that. So if we wanted to figure out what the safe dose was, I would take that unrounded 163.63 repeating milligrams per day and divide it by 3, the 3 doses. That gives us 54.54 repeating, and when we round down because it's a child, we'd say that we could also calculate our safe range as 54 milligrams per dose. Now, let's repeat this process with the high range. Now, the only thing that's going to change is the part that dealt with the range. The patient is still 60 pounds, and there are still 2.2 pounds in every 1 kilogram. The difference is this time, I'm going to use the high end of that range, so 7.5 milligrams per kilogram per day. If I do that, pounds do cancel out, kilograms do cancel out, and when I multiply straight across, that gives me 450 over 2.2. When I divide, that gives me 204.54 repeating milligrams per day. Like before, I'll round this to the nearest whole milligram. Because it's a child, I'll always round down. So it'll give me 204 milligrams per day. If, like before, I also wanted to check the dose, I'll take that 204.54 repeating and divide by 3, which gives me 68.18 repeating, or about 68 milligrams per dose. So if I was just asked to find the safe range, I could say that it was from 163 to 204 milligrams per day, or I could say that it was between 54 and 68 milligrams per dose. If I look back up at the order, they ordered 60 milligrams per dose. So that 60 milligrams is right in the safe range. So we can say, yes, it is safe. If we wanted to compare it per day, what I would do is take those 60 milligrams per dose and multiply it by 3 for the 3 doses to find that we're ordered to give the patient 180 milligrams per day, which is right in between our 163 and 204. Now, because it is safe, we need to figure out how many milliliters we would administer. So for that, we have to use the 80 milligrams per 2 milliliters, the drug strength. So I'll take the 60 milligrams over 1, and that strength is that 80 milligrams, which is going to go in the denominator, per 2 milliliters. When I multiply straight across, I get 120 over 80. When I divide out, that gives me 1.5 milliliters. So I would administer 1.5 milliliters of medication to this child.